He's a humble guy, and he loves to hide behind his speakers back there. He didn't look at his music stand, so we could have taken that away. That was called Liberté, and this guy has a real gift of experiencing the music, and he humbly expresses that as a gift of love to you today. That was love. That was a gift. So the key to not being alone is love. Now that's a different phrase than you may. That's the same kind of phrase you would hear outside of a church, but in church we mean maybe something different, right? We're not caught up in a kind of love that is just physically related. There's a love that you find in church that you can't find outside of Jesus Christ. There's a love I'll say it again, there's a love that you find in church and in Jesus that you cannot find outside of Jesus Christ. I had a little bit of a problem getting ready for the sermon, and I talked to Todd about it this morning. Todd L., he's over there, he's just somebody I talk to once in a while, and he comes and he prays with me in the morning, and I said, Todd, I wanted to put on the screen 1 John 4, 7 and 8 in the Greek language. And I wanted to give you, with my little pointer here, I think I got a little my little pointer, I wanted to go on the screen, and I wanted to show you and give you a Greek lesson, because when we read this text a little later on in the passage, in that sermon, you'll see that in English, this is a boring, dear friends, let us love for one another, because love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God, and he who does not love does not know God. It just sounds kind of boring. But when you look at it in this original Greek language and the way the Greeks experienced it, you will see that the love that they are talking about is only possible with an encounter with God. If we do not have an encounter with the resurrected, living Jesus Christ, we will not know. We will not know the love of God. This is Miller, Sylvania State Park. It's a deciduous forest. And there are some pine trees. Right there is a ponderosa pine. This is some sort of maple. It's gorgeous. It was in this campground, and I got this online yesterday, but it looked exactly like this. And imagine 35 elementary age children sitting around that campfire right back there, and my dad, Bart Huizenga, singing, "My hat, it has 3 quarters," and whatever crazy campfire songs my insane father could think of. And imagine me, who had experienced enough of Bart Huizenga, sneaking away to those tables over there. And it's 10 o'clock at night by this time. And this is what the sky looks like. This is Miller, Sylvania State Park. Somebody had a wedding there, and they took a picture of the sky. This is what the sky looks like outside of Olympia, Washington sometimes when it's done raining. The whole sky clears up, and the sun was so bright. Now, the stars were not dampened in any way by the brightness of the moon, but on this picture, the moon is so bright but what I do remember, laying there when I'm 12 years old, looking up at the stars, I could see a tree like this in the moonlight, and it kind of was glowing. And I looked up at the stars, and I want to tell you something, that I did not expect this to happen that day, but I had been affected by the work of God at this vacation Bible school. And I snuck away, and I thought, okay, God, I'd just like to talk to you. I laid on the table. I looked up at the billions of stars, and I remember Carl saying, billions and billions of stars. And I remembered him saying, we're just stardust, just like the stars up in the sky. And I'm thinking, that's silly. That is so silly. We're much more than stardust. And I looked up and I thought, God, and I said this to him, God, you made all this. Do you even love me? Because I was so aghast by the billions and billions of stars. And what happened next, I cannot even describe, because any description I have will be insufficient. I trembled for hours after this in absolute spiritual joy. And I couldn't even talk to my mom about it, and I couldn't go back to there where everybody was sitting, because I couldn't describe this. I snuck into a tent, fell asleep after hours. What happened? It was just nothing more than God saying to me, when I asked him, you who did all this, you love me? I'm just 12 years old. I'm nothing. I'm just one of billions of people in a time of history. Why in the world? There's Jesus, the Lord God said to Abraham, there's as many of his people in the stars in the sky, right? I'm just one little 12-year-old little nutty little strange child. And God came over me with love. As I speak it, I can feel it. That feeling never goes away. And just like a blanket, completely covered me. There's more to that, there's more that I saw, and there's more that I experienced. But lest you think I'm a freak, because it was a huge mystic experience. But his love overwhelmed me. And I said to him, if this is who you are, you got me. I'm all in. I will do whatever you desire for the rest of my life and forever. Whatever you want, I will do. Whatever it is, I will do it. Actually, I don't understand why I've lived such a boring life, but the reason I'm telling you this story, because it's nothing about me, but what I'm telling you this story is because I desire every one of you. I desire that every one of you knows that love. And we're going to go through some scriptures today, and we're going to see that it is God's expectation. And any way that God wants to touch you and cover you and fill you, it's God's expectation that every one of you and me, every one of us, knows this love. So often, when I walk with you and others, and been a pastor for 30 years this year, right? When I walk with people, the love of God encounters them at their most broken moments, right? when we've been completely devastated, that's when the love of Jesus Christ saturates us and covers us like a blanket. And in my life, since the age of 12, the times then the love of God has overwhelmed me and knocked me off my feet is when I have been completely shattered. Or I have blown it. And I come confessing. And that's when the love of Jesus just... Now, I confess to you that I am a mystic. I do believe that God reaches down and grabs hold of us and hugs us with all heaven's glory, because he is the resurrected Jesus Christ. And it's not just a religious truth found in a book and that we believe it. It is a tangible, touchable, real thing. The love of Christ is real. If it isn't, I am insane. I am absolutely insane. And you should stop listening to me. Because I'm just a madman who is standing up in front of you because I have been touched. And I cannot go back or do anything else. There's nothing else I want to do. Except this. Tell you. The love of Christ is more than enough to live for. So Jesus was having a little battle with the Jewish leaders around him, and the Sadducees had come up to him. There was a group of law-abiding Jewish leaders, part of the Sanhedrin, the Jewish ruling council, and they tried to get Jesus on marriage and say, Jesus, if a man has 7 wives, who will be his wife in heaven? And Jesus gives him this great answer. And I'm not going to preach about that, but that's an awesome little section, Matthew 22. And the Sadducees go away and go, wow, this guy knows his stuff. So the Pharisees, they're not going to get beat by Jesus, right? So they send an expert in the law. I mean, this guy that they sent to Jesus knew the law of God backwards and forwards. He memorized the Torah, right? And he knew all of Leviticus, and he knew exactly what Jewish people needed to do in order to be right with God. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested Jesus with this question. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And you see that if Jesus would have picked one, this lawgiver, he would have gone after Jesus. Why would you say that? Because, he knew it backwards and forwards, and he knew that there wasn't one law that was greater than the others. But it's so interesting what Jesus did. And in the this is Matthew 22. In the rendition in Mark, Jesus goes back to a verse earlier from Deuteronomy chapter 6. Here, Jesus' answer is from verse 5 of Deuteronomy chapter 6. But what Jesus does is he speaks to them from the very thing that every one of these Jewish people all around him had memorized these words. Since they were little children, it's called the Shema. We'll look at it in just a moment. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these 2 commandments. This is huge. The teacher in the law comes and he wants to catch Jesus up, and he asks, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And Jesus stands before a guy that looks like this, who's got a phylactery on his head and leather wrapping on his arm. who knows the law backwards and forwards. What is this phylactery on his head? It's a little box, and it's taken from this passage, Deuteronomy chapter 6. Hear the Lord, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The Shema, memorized by every Jewish child. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk to them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates. And this guy, he has the phylacteries written around his arm, in his hand, and on his forehead. And he's standing in front of Jesus with the very words that Jesus spoke. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. All the law and the prophets hang. And love your neighbor as yourself on these two commands. And it's true. The covenant that the Lord God establishes with the people of Israel is fulfilled by the expression of God's love for his people, found only in Jesus Christ. And it's true. To live in a covenantal relationship with the living God, we must receive the love that is given to us in Jesus Christ. We cannot participate in being set free from the power of sin through the cross of Jesus unless we say yes to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, to love our neighbor as ourselves. It's the love of Christ that breaks the barrier and invites us into eternity with God. Now, God's unconditional, relentless love makes it possible for you to love him. Now, if you look at those words on the bottom, all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, this is the expectation of the Shema, Deuteronomy 6, that we will love God with all. The word in the Greek is hoti. It doesn't mean every. It means every heart love him. It means all, completely, all of who we are, love him. So all of our heart means that, is it actually possible to do this? The center of our identity and our emotional well-being, to love God. All of our soul, meaning our minds, our wills, our emotions, in that which we relate to the world around us, everything we say, do, think, to love God. With all of our mind, meaning everything, every piece of our worldviews, every way that we design how we interact with and understand the world around us, we love God. We love the Lord God, the Lord meaning Jesus Christ. We love him. How is this possible? It's possible because he loves us. And that leads me to 1 John 4, 7 and 8. Remember, I wanted to give this to you in the Greek, and I wanted to show you what was behind these words. But I'm going to give it to you in English, and I just did. And I want to take it apart for a minute. In language study, this is called a pericope, all right? This pericope, this set of verses, when you tear it apart and you look at it in English, it just kind of looks, dear beloved friends, let us love one another. And you can get all caught up in English and it sounds, but look at it in Greek. The dear friends, that is actually agapoi. It's a noun. It's taken from the word agape, and it means dear people who have been so transformed by the love of Christ. Yes, that's how exciting it is. This isn't just friends, because this could be friends down the street, dear friends over at Agnes's house, right, where we party on Fridays. Those kind of friends. That's not this. This is dear people who know and have encountered the love of God. See, in English, you don't get it, right? But you do in that original language. Dear people, and I'm saying it to you, dear people who know the love of God, let us agape one another. This is the love that only comes from God. And it's in the verb, so we've got dear agapoi, that's a noun. Let us, verb, agape one another. So love is both a noun and a verb. It's both a reality of a statement of being as well as action that we take. Let us love one another, for love comes from God. Now it's a noun again. It is an actual thing of God that can move its way into our expression as a verb. It is actual, tangible part of the character of God that comes and floods into us, and it turns itself into a verb right in the heart of our souls. I love that. And in English, it's just let us love one another. But in that original language, you see the transformation of the very power of God move its way into the very action of a human soul. And then it says this, everyone who loves, and that is a present tense verb. So that means everyone who right now is agapeing, is showing the love of God to people around them, everyone who's doing that has been born. This is a way cool verb tense. Has been born. It is the perfect passive, if anybody wants to talk about that. Perfect passive verb tense. Has been born. In other words, an event has taken place in the agapoi, in the people of love, where they have been transformed by the love of God. Has been born. And that means that there are people all around who have not been born, who have not been touched by the eternal, transformational, powerful love of God. And there are people who have. And only God knows this reality. It's not for me to determine this. It's God's deal. There is an event that needs to take place in our lives, and let's go deeper. It'll show you. Has been born of God and knows God. Knows is a present tense, so that's an ongoing reality of those who have been born, who have encountered the love of God. Now it goes on. Whoever does not love, that's present tense verbiage. Whoever right now is not loving other people, right now, who is not showing love to other people, the love of God, who is not treating their family with the love of God, who is selfish, who is internal, who is filled with motivations that are self-based outcomes, who loves only physically or only financially, who sets up their whole identity based on what makes them physically happy, those people who are not loving with the love of God, which is different, which is love that erupts from within, that is unconditional and relentless, based on the heart of God. People who do not have that love right now do not know God. And the verb tense on does not know God, the verb tense on the word to know there is past tense. For all you people who want to know what that means, it's aorist. It means it's past. And let me tell you something. What this means is if you do not have the love of God flowing from within you and touching other people, it's because you have not had an experience of knowing God. You have not been born of God. It's right there in the Greek. You see it? You need to have an encounter with the love of Christ. This is why I exist. This is why I do what I do, so that you and the world around me can encounter the love of Christ. What greater thing could there ever be? What better work could there ever be? The Old Testament even says it. The Lord your God is with you. He's mighty to save. Those are present tense verbs. He will, because of what he is, take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. This is what the Lord God does. He encounters you. Psalm 143, verse 8. Someone broken, and David is shattered, and he's dealing with his son, Absalom, who has decided to take his Israelite kingdom from his dad and turn the nation against him. He's in bed, he's crying out to God, and he says, Lord, let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love. That's the Old Testament version of, in the Hebrew, that's the Old Testament way of writing in Greek, agape. Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you. In other words, I have encountered you. I know your love is real. And now that I'm dealing with this horrible situation where my son has rejected me, show me the way that I should go. For to you only I lift up my soul. Once you have the love of Christ, no matter what you go through, you depend on him and his love. Because you've been ruined by it. And you will not go back. Because the love of God has touched you. So my question is, Joe comes up and helps me. My question for you is, where are you in all this right now? How'd you like that question? Where are you in all this right now? Which chair are you sitting in? Each of these chairs represent possibilities of, and this, they're all represented. These chairs are all represented in this room. First chair represents disbelief. Yeah, you are a crazy mystic, Pastor Dave. This is just religion. God did his creation stuff, and all the science proves that this is just an evolutionistic process, and this isn't real. That it's good to believe because we want good people on our earth, but God does not penetrate beyond a brass heaven. I don't believe it. Get ready. All of you are in disbelief. Dude, get ready. This chair represents apprehension. Maybe you've been hurt and you're apprehensive. Maybe the church hasn't been a very good example to you in the past. And you've been lied to or you've been abused. Maybe your confirmation instructor belittled you in front of the whole group. Maybe when you got up to be baptized, you weren't ready yet, and they coerced you into baptism. And you were apprehensive because of what the church has done. And that's valid. Maybe you're apprehensive because of culture. Maybe you're Norwegian. And Norwegians don't express themselves emotionally. They wait for other people to, unless they're really angry. Honey, I told you I loved you when you got married. If it changes, I'll let you know. Maybe you doubt that God could actually love you, and you're apprehensive because the sin in your life has been real and you have rejected God. You don't really think that God could break beyond a hard shell, and that you've really, really won't experience that. This third chair is you believe in your mind. You believe it. You believe in the love of Christ. And you have perhaps your whole life. And you believe that he loves you. But you're still working hard in your heart on your own. You got it in your brain, but it hasn't moved the 12 inches to your heart. And you're still trying to do this work in this life with your own strength. This fourth chair represents being all in. You're wide open. There's been times that God has touched you and you agree, but you're wide open. Lord, I don't want to go another moment without your love. My marriage is broken. My relationships, I'm confused about them. My friendships need you. And I'm all in. I ask you to take over with your love. And my ask is bring this song. This is a song to listen to. This is a song to just experience. My ask is, would you get out of the chair you're in and come sit in the all-in chair and let the love of Christ just overwhelm you.
How great the chasm